Hi, today we're going to talk about how to play fast on the viola. To do so, I'm going to use a great piece called Allegro by Fiocco. It can be found in Suzuki Book Volume 6, and I'll drop a copy of it in the comments section here for you to look at and use during this video. The Fiocco Allegro sounds something like this. It's very quick and very happy, and it uses very small muscle groups. Well, I can liken this to a runner. There are two types of runners. There are long-distance runners that run for long distances, but not necessarily very fast. These long-distance runners, they have a very, very extended technique, and you can see that they work like this, and they're smooth and something like this. So slow playing on the viola can be likened to a long-distance runner. But when we play the Allegro by Fiocco, we have to use the attitude of a sprinter. So now we are sprinters. So when I play the Allegro, I'm going to be working with quick muscles, and I'll get into that in a second, but let me give you a demonstration. So everything that I do is quick, and I work towards my instrument. In other words, my bow stroke comes from my fingers touching the bow and works its way up my arm like so. So the bow stroke, like so. The left hand is working from my bass joints here, and my fingers need to have a lot of quickness and stay close to the fingerboard, like so. Now, a couple of concepts that I practice by. The first is that I play very short periods of notes, but when I finish, I always keep my bow on the string and end with a nice long bow. This introduces poise to my playing. So my last note when I practice this always ends up with a nice long bow, and I like to have a very beautiful poise at the end of my playing. So no matter how fast that I'm playing, I'm going to end up slow so that I have that poise in my playing. So I'm going to start off by playing the first few notes, maybe the first beat. Like so. I try to coordinate my right and left hand. Like that. Then I try to go faster. The faster that I play, the smaller my bow needs to be. In other words, short notes get short bows. So sometimes my bow is really looking like it's about that long. Like that. And you notice I always stop when I finish and have a nice takeaway. Now I'm going to try for 2 beats. Like so, and try to get faster. Like that. Now the next part of the piece, the third beat in the first measure, has a slur of 3 notes. Like that. Now I want to talk about slurs when playing fast. When I play fast, the notes that I'm slurring, this has 3 notes in it. So you'd think that if I used that much bow for one note, that I would use 1, 2, 3. That much bow for that note, but I don't. I try to use the same amount of bow even if the notes are slurred. So I hardly use any bow when I'm slurring notes. So that would look like this. So you'll notice when I do the slur, my bow is barely touching the string. I feel that my left hand's doing the work, and my bow is just following it like that. So that would sound like this. And that's very helpful to me because the less motion that I have, the faster that I can play because I have more control. Now if I play the whole measure, then I can start to get faster. I did that without the slur. Now I'm going to add the slur to it. Just like that. Now, to juxtapose that, the next measure has nice long notes. So when I play the longer notes, I'm going to change my style and take on a little bit of that long distance runner persona and have a nice open sound and a nice open bow stroke that comes from farther up my body and transfers down into the instrument. I want to make one interesting comparison, and that is, do we play the viola the same as we play the violin? Or do we play the viola the same as we play the cello? Well, kind of both. It's kind of a cool instrument because the viola is in between a violin and a cello. So we use some of the concepts from a violinist and some of the concepts from a cellist. One concept that I learned from cellists is that when they do their bowing, that they play a lot like this from the upper part of their body and swing back and forth. And violin players generally play like this, using a lot of the hinge of the elbow. And viola players are in between. So a lot of times when I'm playing longer notes, I'll take on that cello persona like this. And then playing faster, I'll take on that violin persona. That's an interesting observation. So that way we get the best of both worlds. So the viola has a lot of things to think about. Yes, we can play it like a violinist. Yes, we can play it like a cellist, but we can use all sorts of technique to play the viola. I always found that to be a really cool thing. Back to the piece, when I play this, I always make sure that the long notes get vibrato. Now it has a little trill, and the trill's done by dropping my finger and lifting it and making sure that that comes from the bass joint. And that creates good speed in my finger, like so. So the first phrase again sounds like this. Now the next part also works the same, like so. We have string crossings. When we play fast, we want the string crossings to be small. So going back to the feeling of a runner, the long distance runner when making string crossings has a lot of movement with the height of the arm. When I am playing fast passages, I take on the persona again of the sprinter, and I don't want to move too much. So I try to get my bow in the middle of the two strings and not move my elbow too much. Like so. So I use as small a motion as humanly possible. So the second measure, like so, like that. And I'll work on that many times. So now on the first line of the piece, the first few measures, it'll sound like this. You'll notice when I play the fast notes, I'm just touching the string. There are a couple of nice analogies we can use. The first is that I feel that my bow is like an eraser. So if I draw a line on a paper and I erase it, I go like this, and I use very concentrated small movements with a little bit of pressure to get the eraser to work. So my bow is the same. I'm just basically erasing the string like that. So. Like so. Well, I just wanted to give you a really good idea how to look at fast passages, and I think that that's the way that I do it, and I hope you find it really helpful. So until the next time I see you, happy practicing.